G'day and welcome to the Aussie Pastor Live.
And you speak perfect English. How is that?
Thank you. Praise God. And I just really love speaking in English. And of course, I've been with my husband for a little while. We've been talking for ages. So
has he helped your English? Has he helped your English? Has he?
Yeah, he did. But even before I met him, I already love, even at my class, it's like my favorite subject. And I love speaking an English with an accent. So that's probably why. And I got, because I travel a lot, I met a lot of foreigners back then that I have to speak English with. And when I was little, it became a challenge to me. That's why I said to myself, I have to learn how to speak in English. And when I was growing up, I was just keen to learn the language even more.
So when you're at home, do you speak English with your parents or you speak in...
No. They speak to me in Cebuano, but I respond to them in Tagalog.
Okay, so how do you say that? Tagalog. That is the
Tagalog.
Is that the Philippine national language?
Yes, that's the Filipino. Yes, that's the national language, basically, yes.
Actually, I went to Mindanao.
Oh, where in Mindanao?
I went to Ozama City.
Oh, Ozamis. I'm a little bit far from that. My dad is from General Santos City.
Is that down south?
Yeah, it's still a part of the south. And my mom's from Davao.
Does that mean you come from a dangerous area of the Philippines?
No, not really. The dangerous parts are I don't even want to say it.
Yeah, no, fair, let's not go there then. Yep, no, that's cool. So were you brought up a Christian? Were you brought up a Seventh-day Adventist?
Yes. So, I was born a Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay. And the Philippines is the Seventh-day Adventist church pretty big in the Philippines?
Pretty much so. Maybe to me it's big, but when you compare it to other Christian denominations, Philippines is more of consisting of more Catholics in there and other Christian denominations. Maybe a percentage of the Seventh-day Adventists is not much big, but because I grew up in the Adventist family and I've been through a lot of Adventists, so for me, there are a lot of Adventists in the Philippines.
Now, you are a very famous singer. I know you're not going to say that, but I'll say it. You're a very famous singer. Before we get into that, though, I've got to ask you this one question. Then I want to talk to you about your singing and your ministry. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your romance with your Aussie boy. I want to find out how this Aussie boy found his Filipino bride, but that'll come in a minute. How did you meet Christ? Because you were born a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. Doesn't mean you met Christ. Just tell us briefly your story about how you met Christ, were converted.
Well, I got baptized when I was 13. Before that, I was already doing ministry. Before that. And then I remembered my grandpa was always telling me, you have to be baptized because you're doing ministry and stuff and you're not even baptized. But all I think is that I thought I knew Christ before then. I thought that because my parents would always bring me to church every Sabbath. I thought I knew Christ. And then there was this thinking in my head that I didn't want to get baptized because if I do get baptized, that means I cannot sin anymore.
Okay. I think a lot of young people think that.
Yeah, like, I don't want to get baptized because when I get baptized, I cannot do any more mistakes, That's what my thinking was. But I didn't know. I think I got baptized when I was 13. It was like a big mass baptism in the Philippines. I was only 13. And then after that, I was always careful with what I was doing because that's what my thinking was. Yeah. I thought I could not sing because I'm already baptized. I should be a new I should be a new creation because maybe I get this. I misinterpreted a lot of the Bible or stuff that I heard from the evangelisms where I get invited to sing. But then I met Christ at a point of my life where I think that was when my dad had an accident with me. We were going on a mission trip and we were riding on a motorbike, single motorbike. We slipped on that. We had an accident. To make the long story short, my dad got bedridden for 8 months and nobody was working in the family because he was just bedridden. He can't walk or anything. My mom was pregnant. My brother was going into college and I was just the one who is capable of traveling around doing mission trips by myself. And that's when I got to know Jesus more through those evangelisms where I'm attending. And that's where I thought, at that point, I understood that not because I'm baptized, I cannot sin anymore, but it just has to be the constant surrender of your life to God every day, even if you make mistakes. But that does not mean that you make mistakes intentionally, but it's only, I realized more how God's grace was sufficient in that I was already saved when I got baptized, but that does not mean that I cannot do mistakes.
You went on a journey with Jesus with the good and the bad.
Yes.
And he was your friend.
Yes.
Now, I said you are a very famous singer, and music is in you. But before we talk about your singing, do you play instruments as well? Because I'm suspecting you possibly do.
I not much because I focus more on the vocals. Yep. I do a little bit of guitar, but I'm not as good as when it comes to singing. But mostly I do write songs. So that's where I'm at.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. We better go back to that in a minute. Now, you do sing. How long have you been singing for? You're 22, so how long?
I started singing. My dad started training me when I was 2 years old. I started singing when I was 3. Started doing mission trips when I was 7. So basically pretty much all my memories have been singing. I can't remember a time when I was not singing. So
you do you have a gift to sing, or is it something you've learned and trained to do, or is it a bit of both?
It's basically both, but I didn't really go into like formal training with a school because my dad could not afford it. But what I can remember from my dad's testimonies when I was younger is that they really prayed for a singer before I was born. My dad was really praying for a singer. And so when I was born, he discovered my gift in music when I was just 11 months old. He heard me humming the song Showers of Blessing.
Yeah.
And then he realized that his prayers were answered. And then after that, I was 3 years old. They realized that I had a gift of memorization because I suddenly memorized the national anthem of the Philippines without them teaching me, with me just listening to the neighborhood while it's playing every night. And that's when they knew, we got to train this kid because, she got this. She has a gift of
So it was your dad that trained you?
Yes, it was my dad, basically. Most of the time.
Yeah. Look, the first time I ever heard you sing, and it was on YouTube, I thought, wow, I've not heard singing like this for some time. I was talking to your husband. Now, how long have you been married? Not long.
Oh, yeah, we're not even 1 year. We got married March last year, 2021.
He told me about the first time he saw you and you were singing. I think he decided on the moment he saw you that if he could, he was going to marry this Filipino singer. I don't know, but he sounded pretty smitten on when I was talking to him on the phone about that. You have this really prodigious singing ministry in the Philippines. I doubt there's a Philippine Adventist that doesn't know that Jeramie, how do you say your last name?
Sanico.
Heitmann
now. My married name is
Heitmann. Yeah,
Sanico.
so they know you as Jeramie
Sanico.
Sanico.
People know me in the Philippines as Jeramie
I
Sanico.
doubt there's a Filipino Adventist, and there's thousands of them over there, do not know about your singing ministry. Tell us a little bit about your singing ministry in the Philippines.
Yeah, so in the Philippines, basically, I get invited to do, I assist a lot of evangelists and speakers, basically, and I travel around the Philippines, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So I have contacts with the different conferences that we have in the Philippines. And basically, I also have contacts with the Southern Asia Pacific Division. And that ministry became, more influential in the Philippines when I got into the singing competition called Tawag ng Tanghalan, or the Call of Stage in English. I won that competition. I won 5 days straight, which led me into semifinals. However, due to the conflict of schedules because of, the Sabbath, I pulled out from the competition. And that story became really rampant in the Philippines. That's when they were like, who is this girl? And most of them that I visited before I even joined the competition recognized right away, that was Jeramie. She visited in the church before, like when she was very, very young. And it started, though, when I was really, really young. There was a GC conference session that was held in Manila. And I had to sing that song where Mark Finley was holding that big Bible, and I sang the song "Give Me the Bible" in one of the biggest coliseums in the country. During that time, I was only about 9 years old, and that's when the ministry really popped into the Philippines. And then it got bigger when I pulled out from that competition. There were more invitations that came, and that was when I got invitations abroad as well. But I was able to do I was able to visit some Asian countries because of the Filipinos also that were living there.
So where have you visited? Where have you been singing?
So I've been to Singapore, Thailand, no, not Thailand, Taiwan,
Yep.
Hong Kong, Macau. Those were like the 4 countries that I've been to because of singing. But side bits to that, I've been through Malaysia as well and Indonesia.
Have you done any albums yet?
Yes, I did. When I was very, very young, it was a CD. I had just one recently. It was actually on a flash drive. But when I got here in Australia, I left all of them in the Philippines.
Oh,
we haven't had the time yet to sort it out to put it on a media platform or that kind of stuff.
So was it? Oh wait, Hunty wants to say something.
Can I butt in here because I think our listeners would love to meet you, and I know you've got a huge Facebook page. Tell us how we can find that.
Oh yes, so you can just type in Jeramie Sanico, Jeramie space Sanico Sanico, and that you can see open and close parenthesis official on that page. Same goes with my YouTube channel. It's Jeramie Sanico. I haven't had the time to really change it on the married name or something, some of that kind, because I've just been busy when I got here in Australia. But yeah, that's basically.
Are you a full-time singer? Is that what you do for a living?
Yes. Before COVID happened, I was doing a full-time singing ministry.
Yeah.
Not really more of entertainment, but more of a singing ministry. So I travel around a lot of directors from the different conferences and unions were calling me to assist them in their evangelistic series and mission trips around the country. And that had to stop when COVID came. But then I started doing online ministry as well on my Facebook page. So before I got here, I was actually having this program called Musical Sabbath Afternoon, which every Sabbath afternoon I had to do virtual, live music and testimony with the people. And that's how we engage more with the people on Facebook. But it had to stop because when I got here in Australia, I had to leave all my equipments, and we were just getting started. We rushed this background right here last night because of this interview, but I'm glad.
Wow.
So you're in Australia. Before we run out of time, I want to find out about the romance. How did you meet your husband?
Ages ago, before I joined the competition, he went to the Philippines for a mission trip. Well, during that time, of course, I was single. He was with someone, and we met there. I was singing. He was one of the preachers. I was one of the singers. I was with a singing group, and then we met at a cafeteria. I can barely remember him, but the only time I remember him was when...
barely remember him. Well, I'll tell you something. He remembered you.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm just laughing.
I barely remember him because the only time I remember him was when he was in the cafeteria, because that night it was his friend who spoke in the church, not him. So I didn't really know that he was there and everything. But we had a Filipino friend that's living in Sydney, Australia, and they were having pictures and stuff. And I was taking a picture with his friend, and then he was there in front of the table. And I said to him, "Sir, can I take a selfie with you?" That's the only time I remembered him. And then a year after, that's when the news came out about me pulling out from the competition. And based on his story, when he read that story, he realized that he actually met me a year ago. And then he was like, "I gotta marry, this is the woman that I should marry." And then he started talking to me. And I kind of felt weird at first because he just basically, and I also realized, I met this guy. And there were, of course, challenges between the culture and everything.
Did he have to work hard to get you on side, or did you kind of just...
Yes. Yes, he had to. Yes, he had to. Because I wasn't really interested at first. But then
He's a good-looking dude too. He's a good-looking dude. Does.
But I just didn't think that way. When I met him, I felt that we're not compatible or some kind of that sort. But then where he was telling me that he really prayed about it. And I think that the thing that I loved about him most is that the way he pursued me was not of the typical guys that pursued me before him.
Yeah.
It's more of biblical stuff. He talks to me a lot about the Bible, and because I am in the ministry, I couldn't get rid of him because he talks to me a lot about the Bible. And I'm like, how could I stop talking? How could I make this guy stop talking to me when he talks to me a lot about you are a princess of the eternal kingdom, or he tells me about this verses. And the only thing that I can remember to him saying to me was him quoting this text from Isaiah saying, "For as the heavens and the earth is higher than," like that. So is my way higher than my way, and your thoughts higher than my thoughts? And then he told me, maybe one day God will change your heart and you'll marry me. And I was just laughing at him because I thought, nah, you're all right. You'll give up. But he didn't. So here we are.
How long did it take you to fall in love with him?
Well, several months to be exact. But we actually were just ministry partners.
Yeah.
Before we actually started dating. It took us almost 2 years before we actually started dating.
So tell me who your husband is and what he does.
Oh, his name is Scott Michael Heitmann. He's a pastor here in Port Pirie and Kadena Seventh-day Adventist Church here in South
I don't
Australia.
even know where Port Pirie is. Where's that?
Yes, it's here in South Australia.
Is this Adelaide? Adelaide?
No. Well, no, not. But it's a part of South Australia. We're far from Adelaide. We're like 2 hours away from Adelaide. It's a countryside.
Wow. So here you are. You've got this ministry. It is a big. I mean, praise God. It is a big ministry in the Philippines, and you move to Australia to Port Pirie, where I don't even know where that is.
And Kadena, basically.
Kadena, I've heard of them, but I don't know where it is. So I'm imagining a little country town. Man, that is a huge change in your life. What does that mean for you now, and what does it mean for your ministry?
It's really a huge step for me, of course. But at the same time, my husband and I have been tackling, like we've talked about things already, and we really love doing ministries together. However, I understand that me getting here has to settle first, and me just doing and giving him the support that he needs as well. Because, we've been separated for more than 2 years, and he also needs that support, especially him pastoring the church and everything. We have this question, who pastors the pastor? Yeah. So as a pastor, he just doesn't have anyone to lean on when I was not here. It was so hard for him. So I understand that. That's a role that I also need to fill in now that I'm here. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that he's not going to support me in the ministry. And that's why he did this. Like, he actually was the one who did all of these decorations at my back and set this all up for me right now. And I don't see any problem with it because we're just very supportive of one another. And that's what I love about our relationship. Because
will ministry still go in the Philippines?
Yes. Well, basically, I cannot really do an actual ministry there. There were pastors who were contacting me saying, Jeramie, it's really hard to find somebody to fill in your place because we can't invite someone like you, something like that. Yeah. They're telling me that. But at the same time, they're like saying, well, it's time for you to actually move further and to do more of your ministry in that country and to actually bless the people around there the way you have blessed the people here. And it will still continue, but on a digital platform. Yeah. And that's where my husband could really help me because he's doing SEOs, digital marketing with the South Australian Conference and Union. And that's something that he's also willing to do for me as well, to keep my ministry going even now that I'm here in Australia.
Yeah, well, it's fabulous to have you here. And I'm thinking we're going to hear a lot more of Jeramie Sanico Heitmann here in Australia because you're going to start singing for the Lord in this great country. I hope and pray, we've already talked to you guys before, that in the not too distant future we can get you to Sydney.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Probably on radio is not the time to do it, but man, I would love it, Hunty, if you could get together with
Maybe visit to New Hope Church,
these
maybe.
2 guys, and maybe put together another album, because
Oh, yes.
you have. I would love to see your ministry blossom and really explode like it did in the Philippines, because I think you have a lot to offer with your husband in this country, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much for joining. Can we get you on again soon?
Yeah.
I actually want to
Awesome.
talk. I want to
Would
talk
love
to your husband too.
Yes,
I
please.
actually.
Yes.
I want to talk to you both in the next few weeks.
Great idea.
Can we? Because I think this is a good story. How God
it is.
brings. I married an Indonesian girl, but I found her in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of a bit of a different story, but it's good when God, and she's a beautiful singer too. So it's good. It's good when God brings powerful teams like you guys together, and you're both young, and I think you've got a great future. And I hope and pray that we can get you guys up here to Sydney, and we'll go from there. So thank you, Jeramie, for joining us. And
Thank you, Pastor Lud and Brother Andrew. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
we'll talk to you and try and get you on again in the next few weeks.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
God
Thank
bless.
you so much.
See ya.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Aussie Pastor. If you enjoyed today's program and would like to find out more about Jesus, our ministry, or ways to support us, go to findjesus.tv